Welcome to episode number 332 of Goulet Q&A, where fountain pens, they are still a thing. I'm Brian Goulet here at Goulet Pens, and in this episode, I'm going to be talking about pens worthy of a graduation/work promotion gift, vintage-inspired pen recommendations, if I should make Q&A an audio podcast, historically significant pens that we can get today, why we don't offer free shipping at $25, what's the meaning behind all the stuff in my background, and I'm going to be spotlighting the stunning TACCIA, Empress, Maki-e fountain pen, Fuji, and Sakura Chinkin Benizakura limited edition. That is a mouthful, but it's going to be worth it. So hang around for that. Let's start off with some feedback. All right, first bit of feedback here from John Grubb 007 says, jumping into the ink vent discussion late here, talking about if I should ink them all up and show them and make content on them, says, I think it would be awesome if you got employees to volunteer for the event and raffle one bottle for each person, such as drawing from a hat to determine which they get. Then for each day, that person does a short format video introducing themselves and the ink. They could do a swatch and do a quick writing sample in a short format video. That way we could be introduced to the Goulet team who don't mind being in the public eye for a minute, as well as see the ink for that day. Just a thought. That is an interesting thought. I don't know that everyone would be up for that. We have a lot of our team who they're okay being in like pictures and stuff like that, but I don't think they would want to sit here and do what I do. Some of them surely would be, but I would imagine that at least half my team would. Not that they wouldn't want to like do that for you all, but they just be putting on the spot like that. We have a lot of introverts here. So I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I'm going to think about it. I'll talk to my team and see, but don't get your hopes up. But either way, I appreciate the suggestion. I really do. Next one we have, this is from a name that I cannot possibly pronounce, GI9E4I3LG. It's just a bunch of letters. Okay. I would like to see a top 10 of the most sold inks of 2025 in January of 2026. Top seller number 1 down to number 10. You'll pretty much see that. Now, if I was to literally just do the top seller, would that be just bottles? What about bottles that have multiple sizes? Do you add those together? What about samples? All these types of things. So, it does get a little tricky to determine like what even is number 1 through 10. But honestly, what it is there's some regular colors that are always offered that would be the same thing, or the top 10 list would be like at least half the same inks every year. So what I tend to do is do the hottest inks of the given year, which I will do for 2025, usually at the tail end of the year, maybe at the tail end of December, maybe couple days into January. But I'll talk about what's the hottest inks, really like the hottest new inks that came out of the year. So while I'm not doing it strictly based on like what's sold the most, because honestly, the top sellers tend to be the ones that everybody keeps buying. So it wouldn't be a very dynamic list year to year. So I do the hottest of that year. So similar idea, but it does make for more interesting, content to watch. So that's how I'll be doing it. So that'll be coming in not too long, couple months, which is crazy. I can't believe it's November already. Thanks for responding. Oh, sorry. I jumped right in the next one. Momolog says, thanks for responding to my ink per month suggestion. I'd totally be up for a yearly ink drop, 12 inks at once to minimize shipping costs. Perhaps in a vial holder in lieu of custom packaging, or opaque sample vials to conceal the surprise. You could even sell it all year round because you could start the 12-month clock at any time. Nudge, nudge. That's an interesting thought too. If you did like a 12-month thing, but it was, you buy it any time, and it's, like one thing you're buying, one set, and then just whenever you start it, that would so get ruined for you though. Some people would post that and then you would have that ruined. So I don't know how we would do that, but it's an interesting thought. I appreciate all these suggestions, all these great ideas. So I will mull these over, talk to the team and see what we may or may not be able to do in the future. But either way, keep the ideas coming because I love them. All right. Let's talk about some new stuff, shall we? All right, we got a new TWSBI Eco in the house. This is TWSBI Eco in plum with onyx trim. This onyx trim has been awesome on all these pens lately. Digging that. So this is a more premium Eco, $55, but it looks really rad. Extra fine through stub nib, stainless steel nib, piston filler, same thing. It's how Ecos go, but it's got a plum cap with the onyx trim on it and demonstrator body. So the plum is nice. It originally, I thought it was going to be like a deeper purple plum, but it's slightly pinker, slightly lighter, as we saw when we got it in person. So really pleasant color, nice all around. So if you like this one, we have it available now. And then, boy, I got some TACCIA pens. So we have not had a lot of new TACCIAs recently, mainly because Maki-e has been hard to come by ever since, you know, Wajima got hit with the earthquake beginning of last year. But they just had a slew of them come out. So here we go. We got a bunch. One of them I'm going to be showing you today in the spotlight, which is the first one that I have to talk about. This is the Fuji and Sakura Chinkin. Now, this is the Benizakura, and there's another version of it so it's basically, it's Mount Fuji with cherry blossoms. This one is on like a red Urushi background, which looks awesome. And then there's another one that's on a black background. So that one, they're both the same price, same availability. So $3,500 for this pen, $3,516 to be exact. Medium and broad nib. They are cartridge converter, but these are, you know, nibs made by Sailor. So this is like the King of Pens size nib. So nice, big, beautiful nibs. Two-tone, which looks really great. Only 30 of these pens are going to be made of each color. So they are numbered, you know, whatever out of 30. And this is Chinkin, the Chinkin technique, which is like tiny little like carvings that are done, you know, just like almost like stippling, you know, where it's like just tiny little piece chip away. But usually it's just filled with like gold or silver, something like that. But these are colored. So it's like, I've never seen Chinkin like this before. It probably has been done before, but I don't remember having seen it come through before. So these are just wild looking. That's why I want to show in the video today, because the colors just look incredible. We can try to capture it in pictures, but in video it just looks amazing. So I'm going to show you that. So look forward to that. And then we have a couple other TACCIA. These are Empress. These are the big ones, same size as the one I just mentioned. So this is Fuji. This is a limited edition. This is another Mount Fuji looking one. So this is, let's see here, the Fuji is a red Urushi. So it's sort of like the vermilion, if you're familiar with that. But it has Mount Fuji. This is mostly going to be in gold. And then it's got some eggshell for Mount Fuji to look like a snow-capped mountain, which is pretty cool. It's got some cranes on it. Very Japanese looking, which is rad. So that one is going to be just under $3,000. 20 of these are going to be made. So not that many, but very, very much like collector grade pens, right? Same nibs, you know, big size nib on that. And then we have another one, which is the Fuji, and which is going to be basically the same design, but with a dark blue, like a navy background, which I think looks awesome, but I like blue more than red. So of course I would like that. Same pricing, only 20 pens of this one as well. And then we have another Empress. This one is a little different. So it's not Chinkin. It's not as much of the like gold painted Maki-e. This is going to be more shell. So this one looks like, you know, blossom petals with like water. So it kind of looks like water ripples, but it's made out of shell. So that's pretty cool. It's got lots of gold dust on it. You know, not quite rodden per se. Maybe it is rodden. I don't know. Is anything that's with a shell done called rodden? I should probably know that, but either way, it looks really cool. It's got like a weeping cherry motif symbolizing renewal and hope. So that one is right around $3,000 as well. And then we're going to downshift a lot to some notebooks, going from super exclusive collector grade pens that take years to make. Now we go to Clairefontaine Basic, my essential A5 notebooks. We have a new color. It's in rose. It's dot grid. It's pretty cool. Clairefontaine paper is amazing. It's my favorite. 90 gram. This is ivory Clairefontaine paper, so that's kind of cool. 5mm dot grid, which is always great. So you can check those out. It's nice. It's got like a, you know, inside pockets. It's got some ribbon bookmarks, elastic enclosure, all that kind of stuff. Really good for bullet journaling, you know, daily, you know, logs and stuff like that. So you can go check those out. We've got those now. They're just under 24 bucks. So that's it for new stuff right now, but we are entering into the holiday season and there's going to be a lot more stuff coming. So steal your nerves, steal your wallets. Yeah, so that's all I got. Let's get into some company updates, shall we? All right, I probably should have said this at the top of the video, but it's Fountain Pen Day. Hey, at least as of when I'm publishing this video. So this is coming out on November 7th, Friday. So the first Friday in November is always Fountain Pen Day. This has been going for over a decade now. It's not like a national holiday or anything. It's really just something that the fountain pen community kind of made up and started doing. So there's a website, there's a sort of organization of the Fountain Pen Day, but it's just an excuse for all of us to, celebrate fountain pens, share fountain pens with others, post fountain pen content. If you're retailers like us, we'll put some stuff on sale. Just honestly have a good time with fountain pens. So that's really what it's all about. So we are doing some Fountain Pen Day deals. We may run some of them through the weekend. I'm not totally sure. You will have to see what the deals are. Just go to our website and you can check out our Fountain Pen Day stuff. It'll be right there on the homepage. It'll be hard to miss. And then if you're signed up for our emails, you've already gotten an email. So that's a thing. And then got out this video. I teased it last week. I was going to have it published before Q&A last week and then didn't quite make it. Had some last minute edits and stuff to do, but I did get it on a Saturday. And I was having a good time. So fountain pen infomercial style video, very much inspired by the likes of Billy Mays and ShamWow Guy and Ronco and all these things. So took just all my beloved 90s like not fountain pen, all my 90s like infomercial memories that I had and tried to put them together into a really fun video. Honestly, the original concept for the video was like, just how cringy it is when you like smash nibs and ruin pens and stuff like that. And I was like, what if I did that, but on purpose? But I've been getting a lot of questions about it. There's tons of comments on the video too, which are hilarious to watch. So if you haven't seen the video, definitely go watch it. But yeah, everybody's wondering like how many pens I destroyed and all that. It was a total of 3 pens. Surprisingly, you would think I destroyed a lot more, but I was able to reuse a lot of the same pens for different scenes, which is why you see me use some of the same ones so many times. I ended up totally ruining 2 nibs, but they were Jinhao nibs. They were already ones that were scratchy. So, they deserved it. That's why I said that in the disclaimer at the end. And then I accidentally broke 1 pen, which was kind of dumb of me. I should have realized it, but I was using a Platinum desk pen and a Lamy Joy, because they're longer, as my drumsticks while I was drumming. And I accidentally just went a little too hard on the Lamy Joy and it literally just snapped right at the grip, snapped right off of the body of the pen. So I did ruin that one. That was accidentally, but the nib is still salvageable, so I can still use that. And the cap is still good. So, silly me. What are you going to do? It was all for the cause, but that was it. So not as many casualties as you would think. But it was a heck of a lot of fun to put together. So go check that out. And then we also have another deal going on right now. So from now until the end of the year, we have a ink promo deal for everything that is coming through our Yafa distributor. So this is Monteverde, Conklin, Delta, Diplomat, and others, right? So they're going to be doing a free bottle of ink with each of these. It's private reserve ink. So yeah, go check that out as well. Free ink with your pen. I mean, what more could you want, right? Whew, okay, that's gets you up to speed here on all things current. Let's go ahead and get in some questions. Question number 1, this is from Gene Curl 6284. I always look forward to watching your videos. Awesome. I'm finally finishing my degree in my 40s. What would be a good pen to get myself as a graduation celebration that I can take to work? Well, congratulations. That's incredible. I am in my 40s now, and I would have a really hard time being in an formal academic setting. I don't know if I could do it anymore. With watching my kids in middle and high school, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't remember any of this. And I don't know. I literally don't know what I would do. I did okay in school, but it was not my most favorite. I had to study a lot harder than I should have. But anyway, so what is some good stuff to celebrate? Well, you have like I guess you have the celebration is your graduation, right? But then this is like not just a commemorative pen that you're going to like stick away in a desk somewhere or like leave it in the box and pull it out every 10 years and be like, oh yeah, I remember somebody gave me this. You want to actually write with this thing every day. So I was keeping that in mind. So it's something celebratory. So it should be like kind of a meaningful, significant pen. You want it to stick around for a long time, but also be very writable. So I've definitely, come up with some lists of these types of things before. So I looked upon my own recommendations that are already out there. Specifically, I have 2 videos about top pens to last a lifetime. The first one goes back to 2016, which was 9 years ago at this point. And that was a while ago. So that one is still good. I'll link that in the description, as well as an updated version of that. Top 7 pens that last a lifetime 2022, which is now a 3-year-old video, which is kind of insane. I need to update the updated one at some point. But anyway, and you can also go to, if you go to gouletpens.com, you look at our, hover over like the fountain pens at the top of the menu bar there, and it'll have like different collections there. Kind of right in the middle of the menu screen. And one of them is entry-level gold nib pens. And I think that's like the right place to be for this type of thing. You're not going for something like super high-end collectible, but you want it to be like a meaningful pen that you're going to enjoy writing with every day for years and years and years. So that is some of my inspiration. So I kind of did a little mashup of what was on the 2 videos there, as well as some others that I kind of thought about. And I'm just going to go ahead and list off a whole bunch of pens here that you can use. So one would be Edison Premier. So this is made in America. We have a good relationship with Edison, and we've been doing the Premier. It's an exclusive pen that we do. Lasts a very long time, and it's just a nice, solid, good daily writer pen. And we got a few different colors of that. So you can check that one out. It's like in the 170-ish range. Diplomat Aero would be another good one. This is a steel nib pen. I'm kind of going to go like up in price here as we go. Diplomat Aero would be a good one. There's so many different colors. Just a very solid pen. The cap is so satisfying to click and close. And it's a really good writer. It's got Yovo nib on it, just like the Premier does actually. And it's just a very solid pen. It's a little bit heavier. So, maybe not for everybody, but it is a very meaningful looking pen. A little more modern design, but it might be worth a look. Another one that's kind of more of a classic styling. This is the Pilot E95S. A little bit lighter pen. So, it depends if your thinking is like the heavier the pen, the higher the quality, the sturdier or whatever. Maybe don't get the E95S, but it's a great writer. Very solid pen, more of a pocket pen. So if that's your style, I just want to give you some options, right? Pilot Custom 74. That was my first gold nib pen that I ever used. It writes great. Kind of more of a modern design, more of a demonstrator. So if you like that, kind of first demo here on the list, but it's just a really good writing pen. So that one could be worth looking into for you. Again, kind of a lighter pen on that one as well. Pilot Vanishing Point. This one's kind of classic. It's a great writer, very convenient to click and use. So it's a great pen to have at work. So that one could be worth it. And there's a lot of different colors you can get for that one too. Good old standby Lamy 2000. It's really hard to go wrong with that one. Very solid, piston filler. So decent ink capacity, very more subtle. I would say it's like, not as like standouty, as flashy as some of these other pens, but, it's just an all around solid writing pen and very durable. Moving up a little bit, we got Platinum 3776. This is again kind of a classic design, nice platinum gold nib pen. Very, very, classic styling, I guess, and a few different colors there. Some different nib options. Pilot Custom 823. That's another good one. If you like the way the Custom 74 writes, the 823 writes similarly, but it's got a vacuum filler. So that's kind of cool. You don't have to fill it as much, which is nice. So that one could be worth it as well. We're getting to more like the $300-400 range at this point. Sailor Pro Gear. It's Pro Gear Slims that you could get if you want, if your hands are slightly smaller, those are better. But the Pro Gear standard one is the mid-size one. You get the Pro Gear Slim, the Pro Gear, standard, and then you've got the King of Pens, which is a really big one, which if you want to go nuts, go for the King of Pens, but you're looking more like $1,000 for that. The other ones, the regular Pro Gears, you're gonna be looking like $400 or $500 range. Gold nibs on those, so many different color options. Nice looking pens, very well made. And then anything Pelican, basically anything in the Souvron series. But I would say like an M600, 800, or 1000 if you really want to go nuts. Those are very, very classic styled. They've been around for a long time. Nice writing pens. Those are nice writing gold nibs. The nibs on those do get larger and softer as they get higher up. So I'm a big fan personally of like the 800 and the 1000. 1000 nib is amazing, but it's getting way up there in price. Visconti Homo Sapiens 2 could be another one. It's a lot of people's holy grail pen. I just inducted that into the Goulet Pens Hall of Fame. Very solid pen, and it's very special and unique and stands out, so it would be memorable. Now we're getting into like, if you really want to go when we're approaching $1,000 here, we're getting into like, okay, you're really going crazy on this one. Depending on how much your tuition was, you may or may not have this much money to drop on a pen, but I just want to give you options. One of my personal favorites, Pilot Custom Urushi. This thing's awesome. It's available in red and blue, and the nibs on it write incredibly well. And it's just a nice looking pen overall. It's very big though, so you got to like really big pens, but it's not super heavy for its size. And the last but not least, I just put in a Maki-e. This can range in price a lot. So you can get, some of the lower end Maki-es for closer to $1,000. You can get ones going up into the thousands or over 10,000 if you really want to go crazy. But they have some beautiful pens depending on the different meanings behind the designs and things like that. It may be something that speaks to you or maybe not. So I wanted to give you kind of a full range of different pen options here that you can kind of pick from. But all of these are ones that I would stand behind as very memorable, marking something significant in your life, and also great to write with every single day. All right, Gil Again's Island. I see what you did there. Brian, please consider placing your Q&As on Spotify or in podcast form like your former Pencast. That way we can binge listen to each episode. What are your thoughts? Oh man, over the years I've done so many different shows and so many different places that I've put them all. Used to use Blogger back in the day as my RSS feed for Apple Podcasts we used to create audio and video podcasts episodes of every single video that we shot. So that went on for a very long time. It got to be really expensive to host it, and not that many people downloaded it. But I mean, we're talking, this was 15 years ago that I was doing this. That's how long I've been doing all this stuff. It's pretty wild. Anyway, so these days it's a little bit easier. There's a lot better like podcast syndicators out there now. I've definitely thought about this. I've talked about it when I relaunched Q&A last year, about the potential to do this. I kind of wanted to see, I just had my hands full, I was getting back into the show and still making all the other videos and trying to run the company and having kids and playing musical instruments and all the things that I'm up to. So it really came down to like time. Like it's the kind of thing, like it's not the most burdensome thing to do because it's not like we're having to create new content and come up with it, because that's honestly half the work. Well, more than half the work. A lot of the work is like getting the questions, preparing them, shooting everything, all that kind of stuff. To create an audio podcast, it's not the most work in the world, but it is time and it is work. So really it's ultimately like, is it worth it for you all, for me to do that? Or not just me, my team, to do that. So, it's possible. One thing that I was originally thinking that would be like burdensome was like, oh my gosh, am I gonna have to post? It's like I'm on episode 332 here. I picked it up at 284 last year when I started doing it again. But I mean, I got episodes going back to, I think 2013, when I first started doing it. I did it for like 7.5 years, took a break. We did the Pencast and then brought Q&A back. And then, here we are over a year now that we've been doing it again. There's a lot of episodes. There's a whole lot of episodes. So it's like, would I go all the way back to the beginning and do them? Some of that content's going to be, a lot of it's still relevant because fountain pens don't change that much, but certainly some of the models and new things I'm talking about have changed. And some of it, I would have to go, there's no way I would have time to go back and listen to all the old stuff because you're talking hundreds of hours. But yeah, I wonder how well some of that stuff would hold up. That's one thing with like having content that's been living online for 16 years now, almost. It would be a lot. It would be a lot for me to go back and listen and be like, oh my gosh, I had no idea what I was saying back then. Or, that's actually held up pretty well. I think most of it's held up pretty well. That's why it's still up. If anything was egregious, I would take it down. So yeah, I don't know. It's worth a thought. So I looked into it more seriously because I honestly, part of it was like, let me see if people ask me for it before I just go committing to doing a whole extra thing. Because it's like, it would be an extra thing every single time I publish a video. It's extra steps to do. So basically the process would be, I would have to extract the audio out of the existing video that I'm already publishing. Get that. I would have to upload it to a podcast server. I would have to, set the description, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's not the most burdensome thing in the world, but it is a bunch of extra steps. And if I remember correctly, when we did the Pencast and that was rolling, audio podcast was decently popular, but it was like, 5% maybe of the people that would watch the video. That's about the listenership that we had in audio form compared to the video. So it wasn't a ton of people, but it was not nothing. So for the amount of work that it is, it might be worth it for me to consider doing it. So my whole thought was like, man, would I go back and do it from the beginning? Because that seems incredibly burdensome, especially because I don't already have audio versions of those. And I, the original like raw recordings of those videos and the original, timelines and stuff like that, to be able to just export out the audio would be, that's long gone. I would have to take the video and somehow get the audio out of it and all that kind of stuff, which can be done, but it's a bunch of extra steps. It would be easier for me to like kind of start the more recent stuff and then just publish it ongoing, which is very doable. But I actually found that it used to be that you could not do anything out of order. So it's like if I started at episode 284, say for example, but I wanted to go back and start from episode 1, it would be like episode 284, 85, 86, 87. But then if I published number 1 to try to catch up, it would post that as the next one. And I couldn't reorder it. That's how it was way back in the day. It's not the case anymore. Now you can set a publish date to be something in the past, and then it would show up, in that order in the feed. So it'd be a little bit to have to organize, but it's doable. So I'm going to look into it. I'm going to think about it harder. But really, I want to know from feedback from you all who are watching. Leave comments. Let me know. Is that something you really want? Because it's not no time to do it. And I would just have to see, like, is it worth that time? Is it worth that effort? Yeah. So I don't have infinite time in the world, nor does my team. So if it's something interesting, it is doable. But I think I would be able to do more recent episodes with it. And then as I wanted to, I could go back and publish old episodes and maybe get them all caught up, if that even matters. Maybe I wouldn't even do that. Maybe I would just start at 284 and go from there. We'll see. I'm thinking about it, but I appreciate the prompt. Y'all let me know if you want me to do that. All right, next question. So this is from Strecometer. It says, hello, I have a question for the Q&A. What are the most historically significant pens we can still get today? Ooh, that's a good question. I went out on a limb a little bit to take this question because I'm not a pen history vintage guy. Pens have been around for a very long time, and there are people that could, walk around circles. They could run circles around me. That's the expression I was looking for. They could run circles around me in terms of pen history. I am definitely not an expert in this field. Please don't mistake me for one. I know enough to be dangerous. But my question is, historically, how? Because when I think historically, I'm thinking like, was this the pen that was signed, this treaty that made some kind of important thing happen? Like, that's historically relevant? But I'm just like, so there's historically relevant in terms of like actual history, like human history, versus like history in the pen world. Because we love our fountain pens, right? But like, we care about our fountain pen world more than people who are not into fountain pens. Most people don't think about fountain pens at all, or if they do, they think it's like the thing with the feather on it, and you made out of a goose feather or whatever. It's like, no, that's quills. That's not fountain pens. That's half my conversations when I talk to strangers about like, oh, I sell fountain pens, and they're like, is that it's like the feather thing? Yeah, like the thing they did with the Constitution. And I'm like, no. So, I mean, it's somewhat similar concept, but it's not quite what that is. There'd be somebody like, oh yeah, I just got a new McLaren. And they'd be like, oh, is that like the Model T, like the Ford Model T? And you're like, well, no. Some basic technology is the same, but things have changed a lot since then. Anyway, so historically how? I don't know what historically relevant fountain pens there would be in terms of like human history. I'm sure there are probably some, but I could not think of any off the top of my head, and I did not go into deep research mode because, again, not my expertise. The ones I could think of were ones that are more relevant to like the pen world, ones that are relevant within the fountain pen history of the last, 150-ish years, right? That I could come up with a little better. So my question further is, vintage or modern? Because you say, your question, the way you phrase it is, significant fountain pens that we can still get today. Well, you can get vintage pens at pen shows and eBay and things like that, thrift shops and all these types of places. You can get pens that are no longer made anymore. You can still get them, but that is not my expertise either. So I'm going to mention some pens today. I'm going to mention some that are a little vintage, some that are more modern. I will say it's difficult because there's so many different things that you could mention, whether it's like pens that were like really known and sold really well, or pens that were like innovative, that like were novel for their time, you know? So I didn't deep dive on this question. I'll say that much. So I should probably just move on and actually answer it. But I'm just, this could be a deep well, and I did not go that deep on it. So please forgive me for that. Let's see here. Ones that I think are more like relevant, older times, or like the original, when they originally came out. I know one of the most iconic pens was a Parker 51. I think that might have been the best selling pen in history, fountain pen, just because they were so prolific everywhere. And they sold for quite a while. So Parker 51 would be one that would be up there. Esterbrook was really, really popular for its day. It was like a very affordable pen, had tons of different nibs. I think they had like 150 different nibs or something crazy like that. The Esterbrook J, but there were other ones, but I think the J is maybe their most recognizable model. You had Conklin, back in the day, the Conklin Crescent, like Mark Twain, kind of touted that pen. He was kind of a spokesperson for it. So there's all kinds of ones like that are like somewhat iconic for their time. Those ones are all ones that they are made today, but they're not the same as what they were back then, because, Parker 51, it went away, but then they brought it back. I think I'm not currently selling Parker pens, but I believe they bought the Parker 51 back, but it's not the same as what it was. Same thing, the Esterbrook, they've brought stuff back, but Esterbrook took a few decades break. And then Conklin, same kind of deal. They have the Conklin Crescent. The Conklin Crescent is probably the one that's maybe truest to what it originally was, but I don't know. It's hard to say. How do you equate a modern thing that went away for a long time and then got brought back? It's just not going to be exactly the same, even if it, looks similar or whatever. Some of those, I would say, if you're looking for historically relevant, I would just get the vintage ones. I would, because that's what's going to actually have more history to it, rather than just like a model that was, brought back or is maybe still being made that feels historically relevant. Those are some. But again, not a vintage guy. So you could argue a lot of different pens that would be important for that, which is probably what you wanted me to actually answer. And I'm sorry if I didn't. Some other ones that I think are like modern ones that are still made that I think are still historically relevant. Mostly because like they've been around for a long time and haven't changed that much, and just become iconic. Pilot Vanishing Point would be one, click retractable pen, very novel for its time, still great pen, very popular. Lamy 2000, that thing hasn't changed hardly at all in 60 years. Still looks pretty futuristic for what it is. So that one's pretty awesome. And then really any Pelikan Souvron, they've kept that line looking relatively similar. It's changed a bit over the years, but still has a very recognizable look to it and has for almost 100 years. I don't know exactly when the Souvron came out, but their Pelikan look has been very, very relatively consistent over the last 100 years. There's also, I would say just like any, if you're looking for ones that are not like vintage, not made anymore kind of thing, ones that are still modern made, the ones that are going to be the most kind of historically relevant or iconic are going to be ones that are from companies that have been around for a really long time. Companies like your Pelikan, right? Pilot, Platinum, Sailor, Lamy, anything that's like, 70, 80, 100 years, been around that long. There's a lot of history within those companies. So yeah, most of the pens would probably have some historical relevance to them. And then I'll say that Richard Binder's website, just richardspens.com, I think is what it is. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I have it bookmarked. But Richard Binder's website has a lot of great information about all kinds of stuff. Vintage pens, how you fix them, but lots of pen history, lots of history of different pen companies. So if you really want to deep dive and know a lot about these, boy, is that a great resource. And there's other of you who are watching that are probably more vintage leaning. You may have some good recommendations as well. So please leave some comments and, help point Strekometer and in the right direction here. I feel like I needed to at least somewhat answer the question, but this is not my cup of tea per se, but still worth talking about. All right, next question from Sky Blue 314. Question for Q&A 330. Whoops, I'm a couple weeks behind. Sorry. Why can other sellers offer free shipping for orders over $25 or $35, but Goulet Pens only offers free shipping over $99? I would love to place an order from you more often, but my cart hardly ever totals $99 or more. Thank you. Well, I totally feel you on that as a person who buys things. I always love it when I can get free shipping, right? But I have to say, there's no such thing as free shipping, right? For anybody. It's never been more so the case than today because shipping is more expensive than basically it's ever been. We net lose money on shipping already, even with the $99 free shipping thing. So we're effectively subsidizing shipping. Now, granted, it depends on where you're shipping and what you get and all these types of things. We try to keep our shipping pricing relatively simple, and it kind of all evens out eventually over time. But shipping prices also change constantly. So it's a kind of thing that like you can set up your website in one of two ways, maybe more if you want to make it more complicated. But you can basically have it be where it's like live rates that you're showing. I'm sure you see this sometimes where you see on a site and you buy and it's like, $8.16. And you're like, that's a very specific number. That's probably a live rate. And if it's different every time, it depends on where location you put in. They probably have it linked up to live rates that are for whatever the shipping carrier is. There's a lot of coordination and stuff like that needs to happen on the back end to do that. Or you can have more flat rate kind of stuff. I think we have kind of a blend, or you can just kind of keep it flat. I think we do it generally. We've done it so many different ways over the years. I think we found the most success with kind of doing like tiered rates. So it's like, it's amazing how much more expensive it is to ship the further away you go. Maybe it's not amazing. Maybe that actually makes a lot of sense. But like for us to ship to Virginia, because we're in Virginia, not as expensive as shipping to California, Alaska, Hawaii, right? So those rates are very, very different. So we do put some, differences in there. It's not like we want to charge, one flat thing for everybody, but you end up having to consolidate some of that. Otherwise, the number of rates and stuff just get out of control and it gets really confusing for you guys as customers too. So we try to make it somewhat predictable. But anyway, you're asking about free shipping. So the $99 thing. So yeah, the $99 threshold thing, and that's just for the US too. That's not international because international prices get really expensive and we can't afford to do $99 shipping even for free on that one. But yeah, so you asked me about like, how do other retailers do it? I don't know. I can't speak for any other retailers. All I can speak is what we've done. And we've been looking into the most reliable and most economical shipping options because it's for you guys, but it's also for us too. We want you to be happy and get things safely on time and not get lost and these types of things. So there's lots of considerations to be made when it comes to shipping carriers. And it's a little bit like whack-a-mole because you'll have one shipping carrier and it becomes the one that gets used more and then their rates go up and then somebody else is more competitive. So you shift over to there, but all of them have negotiations depending on how much volume you're doing with each carrier. And so it's this whole game. And some carriers negotiate more than others and they come out with, different new, innovative shipping things that they may do. So it's constantly something that we have to evaluate and look into. So it does change a lot. So anyway, you're asking about how other retailers do. So I don't want to speculate about what other retailers are doing. So I can just give you maybe some thoughts around if we wanted to lower ours, how we would do that, right? And what that would look like. So the thing I will say is we are all the way on the East Coast. We're pretty close to we're like 2 hours from the ocean on the East Coast here in Richmond, Virginia. So for us and we are kind of at least in the middle of like the mid-Atlantic here. So, if you're based in like Maine or Florida or like, Washington State or something, you're further from everybody. So it costs more to ship basically everything. If we were located more in the middle of the country, it would be cheaper to ship just about everywhere. But for us, it's more economical to ship on the East Coast, a lot less economical on the West Coast because of where we're located. So that's one factor. So some of the other, retail competitors that you're looking at, if they are closer to you, it could be very well that they are they're offering those rates because they may primarily ship to areas that are closer to them. So for us, we could ship by like a slower or cheaper method. It's kind of hard to do because most of our economical shipping options, we try to offer the most economical one that we can get. So that's a thing. We could also, this is not something that you probably love doing, but this is something that a lot of retailers could do. I'm not saying pen retailers, but just retailers in general, is you pad the pricing, you build it into the products, and then you offer the free shipping because people want to see free shipping. But then you just charge a little bit more for all or some of the products. And then you effectively end up, this is what I mean when I say like, there's no such thing as free shipping. We pay for the shipping no matter what, when we ship it out. So we can't just do it out of the goodness of our hearts. We're running a business. It's a for-profit business. So it's like, we have to try to make a profit. That's the goal. If not, then we're not going to be in business very long. So the whole thing is if we don't charge you for shipping, we have to make that up somewhere else, right? That's why I say there's no such thing as free shipping. We can't just, we don't get free shipping. We don't get free shipping with our shipping carriers. So we have to build it in somewhere. So there are, if we wanted to, we could charge more on certain products or, whatever, and then we could make free shipping and you could do that. Now you could just not buy the products that are, padded, and you could still get the free shipping, stuff like that. It becomes kind of a whole game. But we don't do that. We don't do it like that. Let's see here. Some other things we could do. We could try to ship things in lighter or smaller packages. That would be harder for us to do because we've gotten things pretty efficient, while still getting there safely. We have our whole, saying that we have on our little cards that we include is we want to pack with a slightly ridiculous amount of care, because we're selling products that can be easily damaged in transit. And that is super bummer when you get something that you're excited about and you get it and it's damaged. And then we have to, make that right for you. You're disappointed or not getting anything that you want, at least in the time frame that you want. And, we either credit you back or you swap it for something else, and then we ship it out to you again. And then we've lost shipping twice. So, it's really a fine balance you have to walk, of, how much do you take the risk of something getting possibly damaged in transit? We tend to not really take that risk at all. So, if we threw that more out the window and just took more risks shipping things out that could possibly get damaged, maybe it was not as many would get damaged and we could save some money on shipping, but then how much would we have to ship out to replace things? So we try to do that as best we can. So we couldn't really do that a lot, save a lot there based on how we do things. We could implement some kind of like membership program thing. You pay a free fee, you get shipping deals, like an Amazon Prime type of a thing. That's usually what people think of with that type of thing. Have some other type of loyalty rewards program that does subsidize shipping a little bit more. But again, there's no such thing as free shipping. You got to get it from somewhere, right? So it's like, if you do have a program like that, you have to pay into it, right, to help cover the shipping costs. But then of course, if you're getting, the whole logic would be that if you're loyal to a given place, you're going to go there for more of your things. You're going to potentially buy more at that place than you would otherwise. That's where it can work out to the advantage of a retailer to do a loyalty type program, even if they're incentivizing, discounts and stuff. In the end, it would hopefully work out better. But again, that's like the whole thing is if you are charging a fee for a membership or a loyalty type program, but you're giving away more free shipping than the fee you're collecting, well then you might as well just lower the threshold because you're losing more money on your shipping. Or you would have to hope that people sign up for the program and don't end up using it enough to cover their subsidized, the payment fee or whatever it is. Sort of like, gift cards, like it's the reason why, a lot of, stores will advertise, discounted gift cards and stuff around the holidays, especially, is because, as crazy as it is, not all gift cards are redeemed. So people pay money to get gift cards. People lose them. They forget about them. They whatever. It doesn't really matter. But, in the end, most retailers, we don't sell a lot of gift cards. I'm not like, revealing some master plan that we have here. We hope everybody uses them. Ours don't expire. But anyway, so that's the thing. So yeah, it would be like, oh, we would sell these things hoping that people wouldn't use them all so that we don't lose more money on shipping. I'm like, I don't know. That feels weird to me. I'd like to try to be a little more straightforward than that. We've talked about doing a Prime type thing for years and years, and we just haven't done it because it's a lot of complication and I don't know. Or we could just subsidize it and just lower the threshold and lose money. That's another option too. Either way, so the whole thing is like there's a fixed cost for us to process any order. You know, we have the cost of the products themselves. That's more of a variable cost, but it's kind of fixed within a range of, you know, whatever the product is. We have to pay for the products, right? We have transaction fees. There are some that are base transaction fees. We have others that are variable credit card processing fees, you know, fraudulent, you know, insurance type stuff and all these types of things, right? There's cost associated with processing any order. You know, we have our building, we have our team, we have health insurance, we have all this stuff. All of that, while not necessarily tied directly to an individual order, there's a certain amount of time and software and everything that's involved in processing any order. So we've calculated all that and we know how much it costs us to ship out any given order on average. And we know that if we gave away free shipping at $25, we would lose a lot of money if we did that. It would be uneconomical for us to do so. That's why we haven't done it. It's not that we don't want you guys to get a great deal. I don't know how the retailers do it, to be quite honest with you. But for us, we've calculated the numbers, and it's difficult to go really much lower than 99 and still have it be economical for us. And we just want to stay healthy for the long term. So that's why we have it where we are. So yeah. You know, other retailers that can do it, more power to them. Maybe they figured out something that we haven't. It's just not something that we're able to do given our costs. So that's all we got. So thank you. Anyway, we're not trying to like charge super premium or anything. It's just stuff costs. Go to the post office and try shipping a package and see how much it costs. It's a lot. It's a lot. You know, shipping costs are expensive. Anyway, okay, I got one more question here. So this is from Ramin Mohib, 6504. Thank you for sharing the Lego rocket. I talked about that last week back there. Where is it? There we go. I would love to see more of the cool stuff that you have on your set behind you. Either a dedicated studio tour or pick one item per Q&A video to share. It's such a cool set. I'd love to know more about it. I was originally thinking that I would show the whole thing at once, but I kind of like the idea of picking something and showing it each time. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll pick one thing. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. Let me pick something off of here. I think I can. Okay, I'll pick one thing. I'll pick a random thing. This is a random thing. This is a personal thing. Okay. So this is a Lego thing. I have a lot of Lego. I'm a big Lego fan. This is my Lego mech. If you're familiar with the Lego movie, this is Emmett's mech that he has at the end of the movie. And it's definitely a cool Lego thing, but it has some more significance than that to me. The Lego movie, I love the Lego movie. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. Maybe that says something about how immature I may be, but part of the reason I love it is because my son, who also is a massive Lego fan, he was right around the age of the kid in the movie. And, the whole movie is about like a kid and his dad and the kid like messing with his dad's Legos and the dad being strict about it. I don't want to give away the whole movie, but it's the friggin' Lego movie. And if you haven't seen it by now, I'm not spoiling anything too crazy. But the kid wants to be creative and play with this stuff, and the dad has a strict way of doing things. But then he like kind of realizes that he's kind of killing his son's creativity and joy by doing that. And so, towards the end of the movie, when that happens and the dad realizes like, wow, he's really kind of been a stick in the mud, and kind of opens his heart up to his son, which I find incredibly heartwarming. Emmett, the main character in here, the little construction guy, he ends up becoming like the master builder and is able to build this mech and fight the bad guys and all this kind of stuff. So it's very much this like, to me, it's meaningful because it's like me, my son, as a dad, I really relate to what's in the Lego movie. But then also, especially like not even just like Lego specific things, but it's like, Rachel and I, we started life. We met when we were 17. We started life really early. I basically skipped my 20s. We worked really hard. We started this business. I was working like multiple jobs before we started this business, got this thing off the ground, working hard. We had 2 kids. We've just been grinding and grinding and grinding and working so hard for such a long time. It's really easy to just be like super focused on work, 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 work. And then, your kids start to grow up. They're young and they're little and everything's a fantasy and all that kind of stuff. But then they start to get a little bit older and you're just like, you're so focused on like the real world and work and politics and all these things, all these adult things. But then your kids are like, they just like get to your heart every now and then. You're like, man, like I kind of remember being a kid. Like all this adult stuff, man, is really hard and it kind of sucks sometimes. And it really is like, something relatable, like in the movie, to just be like, you know what, let me break down some of these rigid thinking things that I have and just have a good time with my kid and explore and fantasize and these types of things. So the Lego robot thing is the point in the movie where he is able to then defeat the bad guys because he's like unlocked his kind of creativity and inspiration and stuff like that, partly through that relationship with the kid and the dad. So I don't know. To me, I like having it because, there's a lot of hard, serious stuff that you have to deal with when you're running a business and dealing with family and all that kind of stuff. And just having some fun things like that help to keep things, help to have a little more levity, keep things a little lighter, a little more fun when life can be really tough. So, so it's meaningful in terms of the movie when it came out, associated with my son. We have a lot of these Lego movie sets and stuff like that. And it's also just cool and fun, and I like building stuff. So that's why this is back there. So I think I'll do that because originally I was thinking I would just show you everything that's back there, but seeing as how long I just talked about this one thing, I could probably go for a while. So maybe I'll just grab something off the shelf every week for a while. And then when I get kind of towards the end and things are not as relevant, maybe I'll just show you more of what's up there. I also do change things from time to time. I just changed a couple things recently, like this thing right here. That's new, but I won't talk about that yet. Okay, that's what I got for this week. So thank you for the prompt. That's cool. Maybe I'll include that and I won't make it like a regular question. Maybe I'll just make it part of like my adventures or something like that. I'll be like, here's my thing of the week on my desk. If that matters to you at all, if y'all don't care at all, let me know. But whatever, you're here. It's been an hour already. So if you're still here, you're like, whatever, you're already, what was I going to say? You're already in it at this point. You're already locked in. I don't know. Whatever the expression is. I don't know why I can't come up with that expression, but So that's what I got. Emmett with his mech. More to come in future episodes. All right. It's time for the pen spotlights. Now, it is always fun to show really fancy pens in the spotlight because they look kind of incredible. So this is a TACCIA. Again, they just came out with a bunch of different Maki-e pens. And this one in particular looks pretty amazing. I don't know how much most of you are familiar with Chinkin. Typically, it's not the most popular Maki-e technique. Most people like the shell, the rod, and, the Urushi painted stuff. This is a really cool box. I don't know 100% for sure what this box is made out of, but I believe it's like, if I had to take a guess, it would be like a Japanese oak, which is called Paulownia. I would put my money on that. It's very strong. It's very light, but it's a nice wooden box. Comes with this nice sheet of paper, very Japanese. It's got this cool little like kimono pen case kind of thing. This is a TACCIA thing that they do, which is pretty neat. They do differ from pen to pen. So if you get several of these Maki-e pens, you will sometimes get different sleeves. I think it might be different. I know it's different, certainly different for different model of pens. I'm trying to remember if different pens of the same type will come with different kimonos. I feel like they have sometimes. So anyway, this is an example of one. It's got the cherry blossoms and stuff like that. Some fans, stuff like that. But anyway, you can use that for your pen. It's got a bunch of other stuff in here, some cards of information, some history, things like that, a little warranty card, all that fun stuff. Got a couple of cartridges. They use Sailor cartridges because it's got Sailor, guts. Converter as well. And then it does come with a bottle of ink, which is kind of cool. 40 ml ink. This is TACCIA ink. I don't know who actually makes their ink. If I had to guess, I would say it could be Sailor because there's a relationship that they have. Sakura. I don't know this ink actually. We don't carry TACCIA ink regularly. They don't, it's not the most available thing. But anyway, kind of a nice like green felt interior here. But here is the pen. So this looks incredible. So this is Chinkin, which is, I may have to even show it more up close. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit more. So essentially, to do this technique, you create layers and layers and layers of this urushi lacquer. And then a very, very talented artist, well, you gotta be talented to do the urushi lacquer in the first place. I don't know how many layers it is, but it's a lot. And it takes like a week for each layer to cure. But each one of these little grooves here, that is something that is done by hand. So if you think about how small these things actually are, you can see my fingernail and how small these are in relation to each other. But in the middle of the flower, each one of those is a little like dig. So it's like with these tiny, tiny little gouges that they use in there. If they get one of those wrong, they've ruined the pen. That's what's so amazing about these pens is, you can imagine if you start out with one flower and you get one flower done, you're like, whew, wow, okay, that looks good. But imagine once you've done all these flowers and this whole mountain, and you get to like the last one, you're like, oh my gosh, if I mess this up, then this whole pen can be ruined. But like all these dots right here, these are all individual gouges that they've done. It's incredible. Like the craftsmanship that this takes is wild. Yeah, and then the whole mountain too is pretty wild. So that's all carved out as well. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And then they backfill it with these colored powders, I think it is. Usually it's like gold powder, silver powder. I don't know what these colors are. I probably should ask and figure out more what they are about, but they just came up with a ton of pens at once. So I haven't quite learned everything about them yet, but I do know that they look pretty wild. And you can see they've almost got like a holographic like sort of quality, like a color shifty type thing. So that looks incredible. Sort of like a, sunset or sunrise Mount Fuji there. And then the flowers themselves, you get a little bit of color in those as well. You get like sort of a gold to silver kind of thing going on there. And then the gold has like a little bit of touch of some of that pink maybe. Might vary by flower a little bit. Yeah, so this one's like silver, but it's got a little bit of that pink in it too. It just looks so cool. The Chinkin that I've always seen has just been straight up gold or like, one color across the whole thing. But these look pretty amazing. You can feel the texture on it a little bit, but it doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like nails on a chalkboard sort of thing. It's very, very subtle. But yeah, it's just mind blowing. And then here, the pen itself, whoops. Unscrew it. Look at that, it's even got it on the grip. So yeah, it's a good thing that it doesn't, you don't feel it a lot, but you do get to touch it a little bit. It feels nice. I'm trying to think of what this feels like. It doesn't honestly feel it. I mean, you can definitely feel the difference between it where it's very slick and here. Yeah. I don't know how to describe it. Sorry. And then there's the nib, big old nib. So it's an 18 karat nib. It's like a Sailor King of Pens size. So it's like a number 8 size nib, basically. There you go. There's the feed. And then it's a cartridge converter pen. Nothing crazy. I mean, I showed you the converter already and the cartridges, actually. So that goes on here. I would not eyedropper convert this just because you got the metal components here. So I would stick with the cartridges or the converter. But yeah, Really nice pen. Very light for the size that it is too. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that because I thought that it would look really good in video form. Just being able to see those like sparkles and the colors and all that. It's amazing. And of course, this is the red one, which does look really cool. You know, this deep red. You know, honestly, there's some pretty popular Urushi pens that, look at that Mount Fuji lines right up there. There's some pretty popular pens that don't have any of the Chinkin on it that are just this red that look really cool. So that's a cool technique right there in and of itself. But then there's a black one as well. And, you know, the red one does look really nice, and I like it for the fact that it's got this, you know, technique on it, because it looks nice on its own. But the black background one makes the flowers and the mountain and everything pop that much more. So they both look really nice. They're the same price. Again, these are $3,500 pens. So they are not for the faint of heart, but I will say that I can't even imagine how long it takes to sit here and do all this work. And each one is handmade. They're done one at a time, and they are numbered. This one in my hands here is number 2 out of 30. And then there's the artist signature right there. So pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. So wanted to just show you guys that. We have them now. There's only a handful of them, and then they will be gone. But TACCIA keeps coming out with more. They've got some crazy designs that they're going to be coming out with over time. So be on the lookout for them. They're beautiful pieces of art. All right, Brian's adventure time. Let's see, what have I been up to? Well, it's fall and leaves are changing. It's really nice. I don't know if we're technically in peak leaf season here. I feel like I never really know what in peak is, because like some trees change really early and then like drop all their leaves, and then other ones are still changing. So I don't really know. I'm not a leaf connoisseur, but I just know that it looks really pretty right now. So here in Central Virginia, it's a beautiful time of year. Yeah, and I have a fun fact today that's actually about leaves changing. Spoiler alert. And then, you know, I'm still cycling. I've been exercising regularly. It was funny. One of the comments, well, not one, several of the comments in the video for the pen infomercial, they were like, "Oh, Brian, it's so funny that you like padded your shirt and made this big stomach." And I was like, "Yeah, that wasn't padding. That was just my stomach. You're just normally seeing me sitting at a desk." I'm a big guy. But no, I recorded that video. Gosh, when I recorded the face part of that video, that was like months ago. I mean, I think it was in like June. That was actually like the heaviest that I've been pretty much in my whole life. But I was like, you know what? I want to do this video. I'm going to do it anyway. Even though it's going to lock in historically the heaviest that I've ever been. So I was 267 at the time of that recording, which is pretty much my peak. But I've actually lost some weight recently, which is good because I've been trying really hard to do that for a really long time. And I've finally figured something out that is kind of working. Doing more like intermittent fasting, which I've tried that many times before and it's never worked, but I've tried it more recently and I've actually had more success with it. So, you know, combining that with some more cycling and stuff like that, which has been great. I love, you know, I will exercise inside, you know, I will, especially in the wintertime, it gets really friggin' cold, you know, and I'll ride my bike inside and stuff like that. Cardio is really good for me, mental health wise, you know, body wise. But there's something about riding outside that's just awesome. And there's like a bike path that's sort of near me. So I ride on the road a little bit, but then I can ride on the bike path and I'm not, you know, worrying about getting hit by cars, which is very nice. That's probably helped my mental health more than anything. Rachel's too. But yeah, so I've been more disciplined about that and having more success. So I'm really happy about that. So yeah, it's been, gosh, you watch my videos over the 16-ish years that I've been doing it now, and you will see me up and down and all around with my weight. It's like a roller coaster. That has been a battle that I've been fighting my entire life. But I'm a little bit on the downswing right now, which is a nice place to be. So hopefully I can keep that up. But yeah. And then I'll see here. I've been continuing with my drum lessons, working on some jazz drumming. I've been doing like a lot of double bass pedal, which is just more conducive to like metal, you know, but incorporating a little bit of double bass into some jazz stuff. And jazz, man, jazz is hard. It's just like, it's just a totally different way of drumming than almost any other way to do it. So there's certain genres that like I'm even though I've been drumming for solid 6-7 months now, definitely I'm more of like into the like rock style, I guess. But I'm trying to expand my range a little bit. Continuing with driving lessons with Joseph. That's going well. Just doing the kid thing, doing the work thing, doing the, all the stuff. I don't have like major projects that I've been taking on, but, just been focusing on my own mental health, well-being, being there for my family, being there for my team. Yeah, doing that. So that's pretty much it from me right now. So we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. I do have a fun fact. Just thanks for watching. Keep asking questions. That's always super helpful. Ask in the comments. You can always leave a comment on YouTube here. And check out Goulet pens. That's where we sell fountain pen things, and that's how we fund these videos. So always appreciate it when you can do that. Like, subscribe, share these videos if you like them. And then my question of the week, I haven't asked a question of the week in a long time. My fun fact, I'll say. Why do leaves change color? Right? All right. So leaves change color because the pigment shifts. It's not just dying trees. All right. So that when days shorten and the leaf cells begin their seasonal shutdown, the green chlorophyll breaks down. That reveals the carotenoids, yellows and oranges, which were already in the leaf. So those are there all along. They're just normally hidden by the green chlorophyll. And in many species, new red and purple pigments called anthocyanins are actively produced. Cool little detail here. The red and purple anthocyanin isn't just left over, but it's actually created in response to sugars being trapped in the leaf cells and then light interacting with it. So chlorophyll's going away. So the green is dying off. The yellows and the oranges are showing up more because they were there all along, just hidden. And then the reds and the purples are new and coming about. So that's why you get such interesting and dynamic colors that happened. So how much and how fast leaves transform varies by location on the globe. The best colors are produced when the weather is dry, sunny, and cool. Places that are cloudy, damp, or warm won't see the same degree of changing color. So there you go. That's what I got for you this week. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Go enjoy leaves if you are in a region that has leaves that are changing right now. And if not, there's plenty of pictures of them out there. They look pretty cool. So anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and right on.